Today, I would like to discuss some of Potemkin's practical anti-air options. To keep things simple, I'm going to only discuss what I believe are his most practical options and why, including with what I believe to be the go-to options. To start, let's begin with 5P. It's Potemkin's fastest button in 5-frame startup, has decent active frames, can Gatling into itself, and is special cancelable. The high hitbox also helps to contest higher in the air. All of this leads to easier hit confirms to make 5P a deceptively powerful option. The main attraction of this option is its speed. Being as fast as it is minimizes the risk of whiffing, and because of air block mechanics, your opponent is forced into a very disadvantaged state if they block it. The main drawback of this move is the lack of a large counter hit, meaning your routes are going to have relatively lower damage. Also, because you will generally want to use 2 5Ps to confirm, you will have lower damage from your follow-ups. 6P is Guilty Gear's universal anti-air option. While it isn't special cancelable, it still has many positive points. 6P has massive upper body invincibility while lowering Potemkin's hurtbox, a good hitbox, and sets up Garuda impact on counter hits. If your opponent gets hit deep enough, say looking for a cross-up, Potemkin recovers fast enough to combo out of the 6P. This should be your general on-reaction anti-air. While strong, whiffing this move will leave you open to reaction air dashes by some characters, or worse. "2H" is Potemkin's launcher and leads to some of his most damaging combos. The startup is fairly slow, so this should only be used as a read option. For what it's worth, landing this into Heavenly Potemkin Buster is quite the demoralizer, so use this to shut down your friends if they're getting momentum. Dust is your universal overhead, but works surprisingly well as an anti-air. Potemkin pulls back a little before throwing out the backhand, giving it some level of protection against jump. The main benefit of this move is not the uncharged version, where you prefer to 5P or 2H. Instead, charged dust is the idea. This of course leads to a dust combo, which is some of your highest potential damage without meter or setup. The main drawback, of course, is the incredibly slow startup, making this an even harder read option than 2H. The orange flash also alerts the opponent to what you're doing, making it easy for them to simply not press a button and block if they air dash into you. Heat Knuckle is your dedicated anti-air grab. It's fairly fast at 12 frames, one slower than 6P, making it your third fastest option. It's blockable in Strive, but leaves the opponent in a guard crush state, giving you advantage. The hitbox is massively disjointed, making it ideal for early jump-in buttons and even as a good way to contest some otherwise hard to deal with moves. It also scores a wall break in the corner. While I don't think this is directly relevant to its strength as an anti-air on its own, it is worth mentioning. Its main drawback is the motion input, which makes it slightly more difficult to use. Everyone drops inputs sometimes, and this does need to be taken into consideration. Heavenly Potemkin Buster is your anti-air overdrive. It's an air unblockable hit grab with massive damage. However, the hitbox is fairly small, and you will whiff a lot of the time against things it seems it should hit. Also, a fairly big deal is that your opponent can do an air grab and it will win. This is partly due to Strive's move priority system, and partly due to the abysmal hitbox of Heavenly Potemkin Buster. So, while this is an option, generally speaking this is a combo ender and not something to do raw. Still, if you've trained your opponent to jump your command grabs, end their career with a knockdown to hard read Heavenly Potemkin Buster. Before I go over which I think are the better options, it's worth mentioning both close slash and far slash as anti-airs. Generally speaking, I wouldn't consider them anti-airs, as close slash is relying on your opponent being close and therefore probably already having a hitbox out, and far slash is more of a neutral space control tool and barely leads into anything. Still, slash is a decent button to press that can preemptively stuff out air dash attempts. Most of Potemkin's air buttons are fairly weak as anti-air options. Jump P is fast and your best air-to-air button, but it only chains into itself. Jump K can be jump cancelled, leading into some okay air combos, but because of pre-jump frames comes out at best on frame 15, so isn't reliable. Air grab is okay, but will lose to most jump-in buttons due to the short-range nature of being a grab. Because I wanted to cover options related to beating out your opponent after you've already seen the jump, I won't go over things like air-to-air counter hit jump HS. I'll save that for another video. That said, here's what I believe to be your best options. 5P is your safest, least committal option. 6P is your most reliable option with the upper body invincibility. Heat Knuckle is your best option for contesting approaches and attacks staying in the air. Charged Dust is your most rewarding option without spending anything. Heavenly Potemkin Buster is how you break your opponent's will to live. Hopefully they get you started in the right direction. I do think all of the options I discussed have their purpose, so be ready to use all of them for the proper scenario. If I missed something or said something that is not correct, please let everyone know in the comments. Thank you for watching. 加減はしておいた。